I want to welcome you to 2 Minutes on Grace with the following phrase. The grace that you've believed determines the freedom you've received. Paul wrote to one of his understudies named Titus, and he said to them that the grace of God has appeared with saving power for all people. The grace of God has appeared with saving power for all people. He wrote to a small group of believers in Rome, and he said to them, he said, you know what? Sin is no longer your master. For you no longer live under the requirements of the law. You live under the freedom of God's grace. The difficulty for people who say they've trusted Christ as Savior and in our post-Christian and very religious culture is that we're still living under a false measurement. We're bound under what was previously used to measure our acceptance before God, which was our good works. And the problem with that is that our good works and that measurement itself is relative because it depends on who's defining it. And I can use my definition of grace and really my definition of good to either accuse me or excuse me, but it can never free me. And if I use that definition on you, I can either accuse you or excuse you, but I can never free you. Because why? Because it really comes back to that opening phrase that we said, that the grace I've believed determines the freedom I've received. The grace I've believed determines the freedom I've received. So if I believe that the grace is the power of salvation for all people, if I believe that I'm under the freedom of God's grace, that puts me in a place where now the grace is not grace if I must be good to get grace. Grace is not grace if I must perform to get grace. Grace is only grace if it's defined by Calvary. So think about this. The grace you've believed determines the grace you've received.